Okay, man. Whew. It is Wednesday night. Actually, I'm sorry. It's Thursday night. Just going to get into Wednesday nights, Wednesday night wars, if you want to call it that. Everybody else is, so we might as well jump on board on that. But I'm about to head out to training in a couple minutes for the Monster Factory. So I just figured I'd give a quick rundown on things I've noticed. And if you listen to my show from last night, basically leading into the Wednesday Night Wars, some things I pointed out. I was wrong. Riddle did not win the championship. Spoiler alert. He did not win the championship. I figured he would, but man, was that match unreal. And some of the things I talked about AEW did come to fruition. We'll get on that later. I'm going to analyze probably AEW's more than NXT because NXT has been doing this a lot longer, and this is AEW's first show, so I think we should analyze them more and get more in depth with things that they could work on and things that did work because there's a lot to unpack. So I'll try to get into it, and like I said, I try to keep these shows fairly short. I don't want it to be a rant of an hour or more. I try to keep it under a half hour. So let's see what I can do. I just have some notes here that I'm going off of. I loved the opening of AEW. Just the feel of it, the pan over, the fireworks, all that stuff. It had a big event feel to it. But at the same time, it's weird to look back at it because when AEW started, it was supposed to be like this, we're the underdogs and grassroots kind of thing, and it had more of a AstroTurf feel to it. It depends on how that works, and because I think if you look at NXT's production and what it looks like at their setup, it gives them the feel of the underdog and the gritty and the grassroots feel to it, kind of like an indie wrestling show on 11, but with stellar, even better athletes and stuff like that. So that's a weird contrast there when you would think it would be the other way around. Which I think is a smart move by NXT to keep it at Full Sail. Number one, you're keeping the cost down. Number two, you're going to grow that loyal base, and they don't need to go out all over the world to get their brand over because WWE and what they're doing with Raw and SmackDown and all that stuff pretty much does that for them and just draws attention to the feeder program, which is the NXT. It's its own brand, but it's still considered a feeder program, I would think. I didn't like that they said we're back on TNT in the beginning because then if I like to treat it like somebody's watching for the first time and doesn't know anything about anything. And when you say we're back on TNT, if I was there with somebody who's never watched wrestling before, the first thing I'd say was, well, when were they on TNT? I thought AEW was new. So that kind of threw me off. And like I said, I look at it through eyes of someone who runs shows, someone who produces and does all that stuff, plus the ability to pull back and be how would a brand new fan who's never seen wrestling before react, or somebody who's never seen this product before react? So that took me back a little bit. The Cody entrance, I got chills, honestly did. Because I know how much it means to him and stuff like that, so I think it's pretty cool. Just that moment of lifting through the stage and all that stuff, and like I said, the production was off the charts. I really loved it, and you could see the emotion in his eyes and him getting amped up and fired up. So I like that. If I was Sammy, I'd lose that gear. I like Sammy a lot. He's a good young talent, but that gear just doesn't work for him. And I preface all this with saying I don't want anybody getting mad or catching heat. I'm just giving an analyzation of what I think these shows were like, my educated views on things, and some might call them uneducated, but whatever. I just think if I'm coming from my standpoint of how I would run things, I would have saw that gear that he was going to come to the ring with, and I said, brother, you got to upgrade that stuff. It just didn't work for me. I thought the match was good. And I'm not going to analyze every match. I'm just going to touch on some matches. I thought the match was very good. It's just that it was tough to. I guess it got all the eyes on it because it was the first match ever on TV for AEW. But I mean, it went against Cole versus Riddle. Woo, man. We'll get on that later, but man, that was a heck of a match. And what I pointed out from the first show that I did, I talked about how if I was in charge of AEW, what I probably would have done is I probably would have went to taping shows first, got our timing down, our production down, and then announced, hey, you know, we're going live. We're now going to go live, you know, a month or two down the road, because you could just see some timing off and stuff, because like the Jericho beatdown, you know, you pretty much missed the whole thing, and that could have been a matter of, if you know you're up against a commercial, you could have had Tony go in there and let them know to stall, and then they could have went to commercial and said, we'll be right back with an in-ring interview with Cody Rhodes, or Cody. And, you know, came back, and then that happened with Sammy turning him around and all that stuff. Because it took away from the beatdown, and it was just, all right, and we'll be back. And then, like, you know, it's playing. On the replay, they changed it. They didn't have the picture-in-picture, but like on the first run, you just watched the beatdown in the corner, and you couldn't hear any of the commentary on it. You couldn't hear any emotion, stuff like that. So that was tough to do. And you could, and listen, I know people are going to say, well, you know, it's supposed to be real, and you know, you wouldn't have timing like this. But guess what? You do have the timing, and you can do this. So why not have as much eyes on everything that you can? So like, just throw that lame thing out. So that was my main thing there. I just think I think, and again, this is something that happened on the first show ever that they did live. This will not happen again, and if it does, it's not going to happen long. Let's just put it that way. It's going to be a problem they'll fix, because they're all pros. I thought MJF, I love that kid. I've known him for a while. Good use of his entrance, you know, with, you know, getting over his character just by walking to the ring. Cutler, again, with the gear and stuff, like, and, you know, I thought it was cool that they put over about him, you know, basically, you know, being the Young Bucks friend and stuff like that, and MJF being smart, basically played into that and talked about that in promos leading up to it. Because put it this way, if he didn't, then everybody else would be talking about it. And now that he did, it kind of puts Cutler in the underdog position. You kind of either feel sorry for him, or you do hate him because he's basically got on TV, quote unquote, because of the Young Bucks. You could tell Cutler was very nervous, and anybody would be in that situation, you know, being on TV. I could tell the timing was thrown off. It looked rushed at the end. After the dive, you could see the ref come out and basically, you know, give them the go home. I don't know what happened with the timing. I don't know if the Jericho thing went too long. Jericho beat down on Cody went too long or what it was. But you could tell it was a quick go home, and then, you know, MJF's in the ring, and then boom, right to commercial. And man, that Jay and Silent Bob spot was a little rough. I don't think I need to address anything, but you know, I was looking at, like, because like what I did is I watched the shows last night, and I watched the shows, and I was going back and forth between them, and then today I watched them separately, and you get a way better bearing and feeling, because like last night I felt two different ways about the shows. One show I loved, one show I didn't love so much, and then today I loved the show more, and then the other one I liked even more. So like you analyze it, but I was just looking because like you saw that Jay and Silent Bob thing, and you're just like, oof. And then like then they went on NXT, and they just cut to like Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, you know, and that's like, I think that's how they should have been used. I think it should have just been like, hey, here's Jay and Silent Bob, and, you know, okay, and move on. Um, uh, Here's what I like. What I like about NXT, if you noticed, in NXT's shows, they've basically been reintroducing their characters, even though they've been on, you know, the network and all this stuff. They're treating it like these fans don't know anybody, so they're reintroducing things. Um, you saw it with Leo. You saw it with, you know, everybody else that's doing little promo segments seamlessly thrown into the show, just a 30-second, 20-second little clip to basically, you know, I forget her name. Never mind. I'm not even going to bring it up because I hate not knowing somebody's name, and I know it, but I'm just on the spot now. But you see these little segments and they're seamless, but they're embedded in your mind of you know who they are, you know. So I liked the SCU promo. I thought it was awesome. Scorpio Sky, spot on Barack Obama. I loved it. But it's weird to see a promo and like a taped promo, and then it goes to a promo at the arena. I thought that was weird. I thought that maybe that segment could have went later in the show, and they could have showed SCU promo in DC laced in with the show itself, so we didn't go promo and then promo again. And I thought the guards security came running in way too quick, almost like they were prepared for that. And I know they're supposed to be security, but I just thought it was way too quick for the refs and everybody else to get through there. But what do you want, man? Atlas Security runs a tight ship, and maybe I'm just wrong. That was it on that. I thought it was a decent little segment. And Adam Page, man, like, he's a stud. I remember meeting him at Ring of Honor and seeing him and everybody there, and he just stood out above everybody, including, I think he stood out more than, you know, when Kenny would be in and the Elite and everything like that, and Cody. Like, he just, it's like, I don't know, man. He's like a mixture of like all these guys into one, and he's like a pretty badass dude and hell of an athlete. And I don't know. Like, I almost think if I was producing this match, I would have started it hot before the bell, because like they both got in the ring and then they went to commercial. And they basically sat there for like 5 minutes. And my take on it is this. You saw the lead up to this match, and they were going around the indies and chasing each other, and you couldn't keep them separated. They were fighting through the crowd and beating the hell out of each other, and this, and this. And they even had a match where, you know, it was supposed to be all elite, and it wasn't. And they did all this, and then like they got here, and like they were like patient. I just think since they were going to the commercial break right after the entrances, I think they should have started it hot, meaning they should have just started brawling and no bell yet. And then when you come back, they both get in the ring and they go, you ready? You ready? They ring the bell and boom, they're off and they're running and they're beating the crap out of each other. It looked like it was like the first time they ever met each other. Honestly, there was not that animosity that you saw at the press conferences and stuff like that. Put it this way, standalone, if that was the only time they met each other, it was a great match. But in my mind, if you're storytelling and stuff like that, I look at all the stuff that's in the past that builds up to this moment. And this match didn't lead me to believe that there was any really history behind these two. But I loved it, man. It was, man, it was good. And man, that shot in the crotch, you always see them and you're like, oh, whatever. No, man, that was a heel right to the swing sack. That looked rough. I thought a great match. As I say this, I said I'm not going to go through every match, but here I go going through every match. I thought the Nyla match was so good. I thought it was a great underdog story. It was just really well done. I just didn't understand why you have her attack her after the belt. I think she should have had her moment, celebrated with the belt, so we could have that moment. And then, like, I didn't understand, like, Kenny coming down to save her and all that stuff. That was kind of weird. like I said, I'm not getting into analyzing all the matches, so I'm going to stop there with analyzing all the matches. I I don't know, man. I think if they would have started the show with Pac and Adam Page, I think that would have been the go-to. And I know everybody says like, well, what about Cody and all this stuff? Well, listen, man, the star of the movie doesn't have to be in the first scene of a movie. You know, you didn't, like I think you draw into that because I think they would have been so amped up from the Pac match, from this, from that, from the other matches, and then all of a sudden, now it's going into the Cody thing. Boom. And especially then it probably would have had the timing a little bit better on the beatdown and stuff like that. So that's how I would have changed it. And again, this is splitting hairs. This is being very nitpicky. But this is what you can do when you can sit back and analyze things. It doesn't mean what they did was wrong. This is just the way I would do things. So I don't want to hear people bitching and moaning or crapping on things because I'm not crapping on it. I liked the show a lot. My only complaint was what happened like in the main event. It was weird for basically Moxley to come out and there not be a disqualification. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. With Pac's move there, they got. It's tough to be because I know that they wanted to have wins and losses count and the referees, authority figures, and all this, but like Adam Page's feet were essentially under the rope during the submission, so that's tough. All that needs to be done is spun around or just have his leg pulled back, but there was that, or just a camera angle change so you don't see it. But I just didn't understand why there was no disqualification, unless it was a no disqualification match and I missed it. I thought it was very, it had like that Empire Strikes Back ending. So like people are going to want to tune in to see what's coming up next. It's like one of those things like you're like, did this just happen? Like I always compare it to like I'm a big comic book movie nerd. I didn't read a lot of comic books, but I love the Marvel Universe and DC. So like in Infinity War, when Thanos beats the crap out of Hulk, you're just like, did this just happen? And it was like, granted the Young Bucks lost and Kenny lost, but it was 2-on-3. But at the same time, it was weird just to see him get pinned right in the middle of the ring. Getting back to another match, this just drew me back to the Sammy match and Cody. I loved the match. Great story. I just would have taken it home on the shoe and the sick kick because you got your receipt, you got the finisher. Sammy got beat with the finisher. I don't think it did anything for anybody for have him kick out and then get beat with knees up and a small package. I would have been much more. Because plus then the heat's there for why maybe Sammy, turned his back on him and all that stuff. So that's just like that. That's me personally because I don't think the pop was going to get any bigger than that if that happened right there. All right. But yeah, I think what AEW needs to do is get more little vignettes of people because they really didn't. If you're just watching for the first time, you don't know who Private Party is. You didn't know who Evans were. You didn't know all these people, and people are asking themselves like, "Who the heck is this?" But I think if they did it like how NXT was doing it and reintroducing people and basically having short vignettes, 5-10 second clip. I loved the pre-match clips of Cody and Sammy. Thought that was awesome. Gave the big fight feel to it. All that stuff. I thought that was awesome. I'm surprised that they didn't do in production because I have a feeling that like AEW is going to try to go this way, but like the arriving to the building or in the back stuff preparing. I'm surprised they didn't do more of that. But again, like I said, it's you can't do everything the first show, and this is the first show. But I really liked it. I thought it was solid all the way through. And like I said, the Empire Strikes Back ending, it works. seeing Jack come back, but then the whole crowd's saying "We the People," and they're popping for him as you're decimating the baby faces. It is what it is. But it was I would never throw those guys together. Jericho, LAX, Jack, Sammy. I would never. But hey, it works, man. It works, and I was buying it. And man, did that look brutal. Dustin getting suplexed, the gut wrench powerbomb on that table. That was Stiffy Stiffington right there, man. Come on, Dustin, you don't got to do that, bro. But it left you in awe. It was like, oh, okay. It was like, here comes Cody. All right, here comes Dustin. Oh man, and here comes. Oh geez, they're all just laying there. So it was a good way to go out. And at the same time, you had over NXT. Just touch on this a little bit. I'm going to go into it right now, and it's not just because I coached him and trained him, but the Matt Riddle Adam Cole match was the match of the night between the two companies by far. The matches were okay. I think the matches were okay for AEW. I think the more of the story was they're on TV for the first time, and that was about it that I saw out of that. NXT came off as established product and better matches, flowing production, seamless. Everything they were doing is seamless. I loved Excalibur, Shivani, and JR on commentary. I did. But I think, again, they need more reps together to get that cohesiveness, because Morrow, Beth, and Nigel have that. And they have that MMA style and almost like a pro football analyst type style to it, and I really like it. But that Riddle and Cole match was so unbelievable. Plus, what I really liked was the camera work, and that's another thing I want to touch on. The camera work, I thought, by far was better on NXT, and the reason being is AEW, in my opinion, was going too much of the look at the spectacle of this, of panning away all the time and showing the crowd, which is good, but then sometimes it bites you in the ass, because there was one moment where they panned and there was 70 empty seats all in a section. So it was probably a travel van or something for the show, and they haven't got there yet. It was a whole section. But the whole other place was packed, but it was if that's all you saw 70 empty seats or whatever. But NXT's were, excuse me, close up, and I don't have a cough button, get over it. Was close up. You saw facial expressions. You saw the sweat on their faces. You went from one person to the other, camera 2, camera 3, get on this guy, get on that guy. You could tell that they were being directed, great shots and stuff like that. And at times, at AEW, there were some shots missed. And again, this is first time doing live TV as a group together and a team. But I just thought they relied too much on the spectacle of it as opposed to the tight shots and the facial expressions. And I loved Finn coming back. I just think if they went quicker into that, because what I did was I watched it live. So once the match was over with Riddle, I switched over and I was watching AEW, and that's when I saw the beatdown happen. But I think if they had Cole grab a mic and start cutting a promo as Riddle was leaving, people would have stood by and then went right into Finn coming out, and it's just wow, okay, I'm stuck. I'm not changing the channel. And I think that was an opportunity missed. But I thought it was great, Finn coming out. Then, like I said, seamless flow. Went right into the Velveteen Dream promo and the kids' money. The promo was solid. And then, again, seamless, went into this, and then the Leo promo. Shirai versus Mia was awesome. I think it went through 2 or 3 commercial breaks, so it was they gave him a lot of time. And I don't know much about Shreya, but I know a lot about Mia. I've watched her. She is getting better and better. It was amazing to see her go from like the Indies to the Mae Young Classic, and then get the contract, and just she's getting better and better and better. Um, and then like I said, he panned to Kevin Nash and Scott Hall in the crowd, and it was awesome. It was that nostalgia, and it was that, hey man, we're showing up to support our guys. Yeah, like getting to Shane Thorne and Johnny Gargano, talk about a stud. Like, everyone knows how good Johnny is, but Shane is money. Those who don't know who Shane Thorne is, the kid is money. He is going to be a star for a long, long, long time. He's one of those guys where you buy everything he's doing. The only thing I would say in that match is we had the lead up to it where they had that heated argument in the ring and stuff like that. But a lot of times in the match, it just felt like they were just going back and forth with moves on each other, and not a lot of intent to hurt each other in that. Meaning, like, when you watch Roddy Piper versus Hulk Hogan, granted, completely two set of different wrestlers, but when you saw Roddy Piper, his facial expression, he wanted to hurt him. Beating him was secondary. He wanted to hurt Hulk. And that's what I just mean by that. They were just, granted, winning is the main reason, but it just felt like they were going back and forth with things, trying to win the match, instead of like an intent to, like, hey man, I'm sick of you being here, and get the hell out of here. That's the feel I thought that could have got out of that match. But man, it was so good. It really was. Again, I'm splitting hairs, and I'm just saying from my standpoint, I was giving her a critique about it. I would say that there wasn't enough of intent to hurt one another and to get a feud going. And if this was just a one-shot deal, cool, whatever. But if you're going to go try and build for a feud, which I think they should, because those two have great chemistry together, that's what I'm talking about. They should have had more intent to hurt each other and some more facial expressions. We saw the usual facial expressions when someone kicks out, when it's supposed to be the win and the frustration, but we didn't see the joy in torturing somebody, and those moments where they can use those tight camera angles, and they can use the commentary to put over what that person is putting that man through, and tell that story about, this is what he was talking about when he came back, and stuff like that, and this is why he's NXT for life, and just, stuff like that. Man, and the tag team match was unbelievable. Again, like, I think the wrestling on NXT was better. The matches were better, more polished. I thought the camera was better. I just think the feel of AEW was new. It was crisp. It was something, that they haven't seen. So I think that's why, the ratings disparity there. The ratings were, let me see here, 1.409 million to 8 for AEW versus 891,000 for NXT. And I think you'll see that level off, or it could. I think both numbers are going to go up no matter what, because now people are talking about it. But what I think is, I think they'll level off more. I think it'll be a lot closer going down. Again, I thought coming out of the gate, this was a great first time coming out of the gate for AW. Like, since it's the first time, I give it a B plus, because it's the first time. But there's a couple things that would have made it an A plus. And it was just those little things. I thought NXT was an A. I thought it was good. I thought bringing Ciampa back at the end was good. But it's still at the same time, now you're talking Finn, Ciampa, and Cole. And then, like, what happens to Riddle now? It was like, I think it was a lot of questions there. I would have, I don't know, man. It was just weird, because you just had Finn say he's back, and then Ciampa. I just think now, it's decent to think what's next, but at the same time, like, I'm like, what does this all mean? And that's what I think next week we'll find out. And that's why I think, like, if you look at it, everything told like a little story going into it. Like I didn't get to, like, when I was looking at AEW, I didn't get to see all the different things leading into what's going to happen next week. We didn't get Joey Janela. There was a great deal of people that we didn't see. But I thought it was solid. I think it was a great night for pro wrestling, and I think it's even going to get better. Like I said, I try to keep these to a half hour. It is now 30 minutes and 30 seconds, so I'm going to wrap it up. Again, I don't want anybody to get angry about these. This is just my 2 cents into all this stuff. Like I said, there was a lot to unpack with all this. There's a lot to go over, and I could sit there and pick apart and crap on things and say how awesome things were. But, like, it really was a good night for wrestling. I had fun watching them both again because last night I thought in my mind that I'm going to be honest, I thought the AEW show was awful because I was going back and forth and I didn't get the whole feel of it. When I watched it today alone, it flowed much better because, I got to see it by itself. And I didn't think it was awful. I was like, oh, wow, okay, I needed to do that because if I just would have done what I was doing last night, I wouldn't have had that. So I think like a lot of us have to do that. I liked the rundown on, the lead up, like the graphics, but I thought it was like a lot on the screen as opposed to just the person and AEW logo. Again, I'm splitting hairs here, but I really loved it. Wrestling is awesome, and I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to do these more often. Follow me on social media, The Danny Cage on Twitter, Real Danny Cage on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook, The Danny Cage public figure page. So everybody, that's it. That's it for, I guess we'll call this episode 2 of Wednesday Night Wars. We'll do like a regular thing of Wednesday Night Wars. I'll do like maybe a show on Wednesdays talking about what we're going to see that night, and then the next day recapping what we saw. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I just look back at it and watch leading into it because I'm watching right now. I have it on the screen because I'm a wrestling nut, and I'm watching the lead up to it, and they're showing like all the behind the scenes footage of Double or Nothing and all that stuff. And they were the grassroots guys, and I just think it came off AstroTurf today. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like they were the underdogs, and now it's like almost like they're like the big dogs. So it's like tough to root for them because I think what was so endearing was they weren't WWE, they weren't this billion-dollar corporation. And I think they could have still kept that if they kept it to more intimate arenas and stuff like that, and kept it more intimate. Because it came off just like a huge, like, billionaire Ted type deal, if you know what that means. It is what it is, man. That's just my take on it. Because when I look at NXT, and we both know that they're owned by Vince and all that stuff, NXT. But you don't. When I watch NXT, I don't think of it as a billion-dollar company. It looks more of like just an amped up, really smooth running, gritty indie, kind of like a Ring of Honor type feel in the beginning, and kind of like a ECW type feel to it, where there's not the fireworks, there's not the, you know what I mean? There's just it's just pro wrestling, and that's it. And it just seemed like AEW was like more production driven, like meaning lights and stuff like that, and big zooming pan over camera stuff and all that stuff. I just think I don't know, man. I when I look at it, I just thought that that's the way AEW would have set itself apart, as if it just kept it more gritty and grassroots. That's it, man. So anyway, great job by both of them, A and a B plus and all that stuff. And let's see what next week has. Like I said, I'm going to do Wednesday Night Wars on Wednesday, and then a recap on Thursday. Also, I'm going to do training podcasts as I'm coming home from training, or going to shows, or coming home from shows. And I might do them live, just put on my headset and drive and talk and ramble like I am now. And I love you guys. Thank you for listening, and share the Danny Cage Show with anybody here. Oh, also, I keep this simple. I don't have music lead-ins. I don't have sponsors. It's just me hanging out on my phone. All right. Love you guys. Bye.